Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can get everything you need to make mom feel special. For breakfast in bed or a surprise brunch, they've got fresh fruits and gorgeous flowers to help celebrate mom. Get started in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Congratulations on all of you who are graduating today. It's the big day for CU Boulder, Mines, and Metro State. I especially want to congratulate you if you're the first in your family to do so. I know from experience how scary it is, especially when your tios and tias suddenly use you as the roadmap for all your primos. So I just wanted to say, you made it, you deserve it, and make sure you enjoy it. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. Coming up, the plan speeds forward for new passenger trains to take you farther into the mountains.
You get on the train, it's comfortable, scenery is beautiful.
Then, a Colorado judge blocks deportations and questions the entire premise.
Specifically writing that TDA is a gang and not a nation or a nation-state that we're at war with.
Plus, a lifeline for arts groups who lost federal grants. And at Fashion Week in Denver,
how can I actually express myself through fashion in ways where I don't even have to buy anything? I can just repurpose things.
Sustainable clothes are just part of what you can see on the runway. It is Thursday, May 8th. Here's the news in Colorado today. State leaders have ambitious plans to expand passenger rail in Colorado. This week, a new lease agreement the state signed means the all aboard might actually happen by next year for one of those planned rail lines into the mountains.
We're not quite at the point where Scotty can beam us up to Craig.
Governor Polis loves him some Star Trek, huh? That is how he promoted rail in this year's State of the State address.
We are well on our way to offering affordable, reliable, convenient, dare I say, fun service between Denver and Granby by 2026, and then, of course, onwards to Craig.
The ultimate goal, a 230-mile mountain rail corridor. Passenger trains would run from Denver's Union Station to Yampa Valley in northwestern Colorado. You could ride as far as Steamboat Springs and Craig. Phase 1 of this passenger rail plan between Denver, Winter Park, and Granby could be up and running within a year because it wouldn't require laying down new tracks. This week, Polis signed a 25-year lease agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad Company, which makes it possible to put passenger trains on their existing freight line. They'd run up to 3 times a day all year long. The train trip would probably take about the same time as driving, but the idea is without the hassle.
Getting there becomes part of the fun experience, as opposed to having to drive up Interstate 70, over a mountain pass, all the traffic.
Gary DeFrange was president of Winter Park Resort when a passenger train started on the Union Pacific line only during the ski season.
You get on the train, it's comfortable, scenery is beautiful, and you're dropped off right at the base of the mountain.
This winter, ridership more than doubled after the state used new car rental fees to reduce the ticket price. More than 40,000 bookings were made on the Winter Park Express just this year. State leaders say those ridership numbers are a promising sign for their plans for more mountain rail. A federal judge is challenging President Trump's ability to deport roughly 100 people from Colorado. These are Venezuelans detained in Aurora. The judge takes issue with Trump's use of a wartime law to try and get people out of the country quickly and without hearings. CPR's Allison Sherry is reporting on this ruling. Allison, the ruling was issued because of the cases of 2 men in Aurora, right?
Yes, and now it's a class action case. So the 2 men from Venezuela are named plaintiffs. We know them only from their initials, but they represent 100 or more people lawyers say could be deported from Colorado to El Salvador. And lawyers across the country are trying to prevent people from being sent to this infamous prison, which is accused of human rights abuses and disappearances.
Now, normally people aren't sent to prison abroad, so how's that working?
So it's working because the Trump administration has called broad swaths of Venezuelan migrants members of a gang called Tren de Aragua. Some of the evidence the government is showing is thin at best. Even immigration judges have questioned some of that, those accusations. But I think what's interesting is more broadly, judges, including Colorado's U.S. District Judge Charlotte Sweeney, who is presiding over this case, are questioning whether Venezuela's gang even qualifies at all as an enemy of the United States. And you see her and other judges weighing in on that.
And what did Judge Sweeney say exactly?
Well, in this ruling this week, she specifically barred the federal government from sending anyone in that class I was talking about abroad. This means the Trump administration can't swiftly deport Venezuelans without any due process. That's what the Alien Enemies Act does. It says, you're an enemy of the United States. You don't get due process. You're just going to be swiftly moved out of here. She also took aim at the wartime measure overall, questioning whether it's been applied correctly, specifically writing that TDA is a gang and not a nation or a nation state that we're at war with. And this bolsters national reporting earlier this week that punctures what Trump's been saying to justify the proclamation of the Alien Enemies Act. He's been saying that Venezuelan's president controls Tren de Aragua, and apparently not even Trump's own CIA and NSA believe that. So you're starting to see where the judicial branch, at least, is pushing back on all of these claims.
Wow, the intelligence agencies are not buying it. Judge Sweeney is also not the only one. There's judges all around the country that are challenging the Alien Enemies Act to deport people without hearings. So how does this ruling fit within the national picture?
There are about 3 cases nationally in the same stage right now, including Colorado's. And it's the second time in a week that a federal judge has blocked the administration from sending Venezuelans to the Salvadoran prison under this law. And interestingly, the federal government in all of these, I've been reading all these rulings and these filings. It's very exciting, just like pages after pages. And in a lot of these rulings, the Trump administration is saying, this shouldn't even be in front of a judge. We have the power in the executive branch to declare, a proclamation like the Alien Enemies Act without any scrutiny. And Sweeney in particular, the Colorado judge, seemed really incredulous of that. She wrote, quote, that sentence staggers because she believes in the checks and balances of government.
So then what does that mean for the 100 or so people being held here? Are they going to be deported?
Well, they might be. So the bottom line is Judge Sweeney did not make any sort of determinations on the merits of any of these people's immigration cases. They could be deported, but they will not be deported under the Alien Enemies Act. And right now, Venezuelans cannot be sent from the detention center in Aurora to this harsh prison in El Salvador where Trump's tried to more efficiently deport hundreds of people.
CPR's Alison Sherry, thank you.
Thanks.
A local foundation is stepping up to fund Colorado theaters, museums, and events that have lost grants from the Trump administration. CPR's Lauren Antonoff-Hart has been keeping up with the changes to arts funding. Lauren, first of all, who lost money?
Groups include the Denver Art Museum, Su Teatro, Fraser Valley Arts, the Creed Repertory Theater, and the Tank Sonic Arts Center in Rangeley. Each of these cultural organizations provide programming that serves distinct communities in Colorado's art world, whether that be Hispanic and Chicano artists, theater lovers, or folks living in more remote parts of the state.
Yeah, that's a wide group. How did they find out?
On Friday, emails went out to many of the National Endowment for the Arts recipients, telling them that their funding had been withdrawn. 22 Colorado groups were awarded funding for the year, and of the ones I've talked to, they lost anywhere between $10,000 and $40,000 of grant money each.
Wow. What hopes do they have of making up that money?
So the Bonfils Stanton Foundation is a private arts funder that offers grants to Denver institutions and organizations. It announced a rapid response grant program on Tuesday. Bonfils says it wants to help organizations sustain their offerings, and they specifically want to support institutions and projects that serve historically marginalized communities like BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and people with disabilities.
And if you're one of these groups that lost funding, how can you apply for this new money?
So Bonfils-Stanton Rapid Response is specifically for Denver area groups. They've already allocated $20,000 of a $400,000 pot to the Juneteenth Music Festival. But for others, the first round of applications opened on Tuesday with a deadline of Memorial Day.
So that one's Denver specific. For the state in general, is anyone else stepping up?
Yes, there is a national funder stepping in to help at least one other Colorado organization. The Andy Warhol Foundation and the Helen Frankenthaler Foundation offered to support 80 arts organizations nationwide who are working on initiatives in underserved areas that were left in the lurch by these cuts. So they have offered the Fraser Valley Arts Center support.
Lauren, thank you so much for the update. And today you're also publishing your weekly art spotlight, right?
That is correct.
And this week, you've noted a Bruce Lee and Beyond film series. Fun fact, did you know that Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury was first, and mistakenly, released in the US under the title The Chinese Connection?
I did not know that.
Yeah, now you can impress people at the C Center. You also highlighted the fact that people can vote for their favorite books of the year in the Reading the West contest.
Indeed, all of our literary experts can go and cast their votes across 8 different categories for this year's awards.
And then finally, Denver Fashion Week.
Yes, the runway lights up again this weekend in Rhino's Art District. This year's Fashion Week includes 8 runway shows, including a new swim and resort wear category.
And we got to talk to designer Brandy McMichael, whose collection will be part of the Sustainable Fashion event.
It's very meaningful to me. It's all scriptural based. So it's from Genesis through the book of Revelation, imagined through modern sustainable fashion through my brain. So again, like bright colors and dyed dresses and even like stenciling words onto pants. And I found this really cool welding jacket at a tool shop, and it just happened to say trust on it. And so I'm using that in one of my looks. And it's all of these different found pieces of clothing or construction material or even outfits that I found in my mom's attic from 45 years ago are coming to life. It's going to be so fun!
Brandy McMichael started out making sustainable handbags in the late 90s. She created a group called Fashion Denver in 2004 to support other designers and help them start businesses. But her big passion is creating looks while being conscious of how she sources materials for clothes.
As we know, our planet is kind of in a mess. So we do need to be very cautious and conscious about where we're getting our materials. For me, sustainability, the thing I really, really love about it, my drive in it, is the fun. It's the treasure hunt. It's finding that one piece that's like, oh, this would be perfect.
McMichael wants everyone in Denver Fashion Week to be inspired by the designers and enjoy the new clothes. But she also wants people to think about fashion and how many things we instantly throw away.
Just stop and think about that quick, momentary joy that we can get from instant gratification of, oh, it's on sale, it's only $4.99, I'm getting it. And then wearing it once and then it's gone. Just think about how the instant gratification is actually destroying our earth and all of those other negative things that come with fast fashion, but also turning it into how can I be creative with what I have? How can I be creative with having a clothing drive amongst my friends? If we focus on the fun of fashion and sustainable fashion, that's when we can really fall in love with it.
You can see Brandy McMichael's Kingdom work on the runway on Saturday evening and get the CO Art Spotlight with Lauren's other highlights for the week. The link is in our show notes. Reporting for today's show came from CPR's Tony Gorman and our former colleague in the newsroom, Nathaniel Miner. Thank you for listening and tell your friends about Colorado Today. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Going on a trip soon? Safeway pharmacists can help no matter where you're headed with travel vaccines, medications, and over-the-counter items. Schedule your consultation at safeway.com/pharmacy.